Well, I just came back.
That's great. We keep trying to find you on television every time we have you on. See, there's everything down there. I think I saw her over there.
I've been on once.
Yeah, I'll say we saw you once.
It's amazing how many people see that stuff.
Well,
Maybe now you're on 15 seconds. Meeting's called to order. Please stand. Rose, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a little different format on our agenda. We're going to try a couple different things. One would be anybody who's a scheduled speaker. That could be somebody who wants to come, say Mr. Nason wanted to come and be a scheduled speaker. Anybody scheduled would go first. Somebody coming to put a presentation on hazmat or something, they would come first. They would be scheduled to come at the early block of time. The general public comments will come later on down the line. As you can see, I don't know, this could be done at 6:45. It depends on who's talking. It could go quicker. So that time is approximate, that 7 p.m. And I know that's going to throw people off. We may get rid of the times, suggested times being there. So we have no scheduled speakers lined up for tonight, or anybody that's contacted me to say, I would like to speak and go at first thing. That's something, by the way, Wakefield does. Correspondence. We have a couple of pieces of correspondence. One is a letter from Ron Fountain, and I'm going to read it. It was in my mailbox this morning, or in my doorway. As you requested at the meeting last week, I submitted some suggestions pertaining to the electric for the Churchill Schoolhouse and Townhouse. If the schoolhouse were to be detached, raised and moved, those wires feeding the building should be terminated in junction boxes and tagged as their use and circuit break as to their use, and the circuit breakers at the distribution points panel identified. Those wires may be used in future for parking lot lights, etc. If the schoolhouse is to be used as an office space, then some floor outlets, additional wall outlets might be necessary. NEC requires a minimum of wall outlets every 12 feet of wall space. Overhead lights would be required to suit purposes of use. A hung ceiling light is best as it allows light, etc. to be readily repositioned. State-of-the-art LED type lights should be considered for efficiency and versatility. If the schoolhouse were to be used as a museum, perhaps some floor outlets and additional wall outlets installed. Overhead lighting, preferably in a hung ceiling. Townhouse. The two-stem mounted ceiling fans would be an improvement to the efficiency and heating and cooling of the room. The electric distribution panel in the kitchen was recently replaced as requested by an engineering firm due to its questionable safety. It was also suggested that it be relocated as its current location is a code violation. The new panel was put in the same location. As I recall, the NEC electrical distribution panels must be readily available with a permanently clear area around them of at least 3 feet to ensure their access and the safety of workers. Further, future relocation of this panel should be considered to be in compliance with the safety code. Refrigerator is right next to it. Who's going next? Next is a request for town funding, and this is from Northern Human Services. Thank you for supporting Northern Human Services. The Mental Health Center provision of the mental health services is uninsured, low-income residents of town of Brookfield for 2013 in the amount of $358. We are committed to finding creative ways to continue providing much-needed care to community members who cannot pay for full cost of services. Support by the towns of Carroll County is a crucial component of our ability to provide affordable services. Please make out your check to Northern Human Services. Do you have those budgeted for that amount? Or?
Yes, I do. I'll check the amount, but I believe it's correct, and I'll put it with tonight's bills.
That's going out. That's coming in, just a list from the Conservation Commission of who's on the current members of their committee. Okay. And we also have correspondence from the county, and it goes to the tax rate and the budget for the county that has been drafted. They had to make an adjustment, and I don't know if it's been adjusted since then, but there was an error, and I'm not sure if this is a corrected version. It's down in our benefit. I'm not sure if this is the corrected version or the original version, but we'll find out. So that's to go in our book. Jessica, if you don't mind?
Does that indicate how much we will be paying this year? Probably
I
not.
don't think it gives that.
No, it's only their MS whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, we have two, Mike, for that. Do we have another?
No.
Then we have, should I read this? Sure. Okay, so this is to Dulcie Lavender. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, the Conservation Commission, and the citizens of Brookfield, we wish to recognize and thank you for 4 years of service and dedication to the Conservation Commission. Your position on the Board of Directors of Moose Mountain Regional Greenways enabled a timely transfer of information to the Town and Conservation Commission. Placing a large portion of your land in a conservation trust unselfishly served as a leading example to other landowners on how to preserve the rural character of our beloved town, consistent with the goals of the Brookfield Master Plan and with the aims and responsibilities of the Conservation Commission. Again, may we thank you for your past efforts and service to the town of Brookfield. Okay, so sign it or the other. So I think we're very appreciative, and she certainly has done a lot, and just by putting the land in current use has been a big help. And a good example. Looking at our agenda, the next thing we have on the agenda is approval of minutes. Any suggestions for adjustments in the minutes? No. A motion to accept them?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as
Presented. Okay,
I'll
second.
second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we've got that out. Public comments? Yes.
The letter from the Conservation Commission, I thought was a request for appointment or reappointment of people
Oh, okay.
by the selectmen. Have I got it wrong?
You are, thank you very much. The Conservation Commission recommends Gene Jones to be appointed as a member and that George Yeager be appointed as an alternate member. We further request that Tom Hill be reappointed as a member. Oh, that's why we know. Thank you. I'm sorry, I just assumed it was one thing. Should these appointments be approved, our membership will be as follows. Tom Gear, Chair. Tom Hill, Vice Chair. John Nelson is member. Dick Peckham. Gene Jones. Alternates Cherry Jones and George Yeager. Okay. Do we have a motion for those folks?
Sure. I'll make a motion, we accept the recommendation.
Okay.
Second motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Good. Other public comments? We'll have some more going. We'll have some more going down the line. Okay, treasurer's report.
All right. So we have received this month's bank statements. So I would ask you to open them and approve them. One is the savings account and one is the checking account. We currently have in the checking account, as of today, not necessarily the date of the statement, $42,914.38, and in the savings account, $275,587.60, for a total of $318,501.98. This is a good month for the school district. It's our lowest payment of the year, and then the next 2 months really hit us hard.
We're going to have to delay at some point. You know, sometimes we have to hold up the bill.
We very well probably will have to hold up the June payment until we start receiving the tax money. We have checks you want to start and bill?
Sure.
had one bill on Sunday, and they've all magically appeared.
Do we need to initial all pages?
Yes, please. And then I'll do the bank statement. Bank rec. And then these are the bills to approve to be paid this week.
Spread.
While you're doing and signing, was a decision made on LexisNexis? I put it on hold.
We discussed using the books from LexisNexis on the state statutes versus using the computer. I thought about the ease of using a computer, but some of you folks will use it a lot, so we're looking for some input. We have some different people here, so any input?
The set for the year costs $429.01.
And I asked the planning board last night what their feeling was. They were a little concerned using the website, given that there's a disclaimer on it saying that the official documentation is books. But then they followed up with, before they do anything that's really legal, they play it by town council. So if they weren't in compliance with the RSAs, they should be caught by the town council. What was the general consensus that we were all done? We do them, use them, or not use them?
The general consensus was to use the website, not in order the expense. Did a question about whether that was for an appendix to the book that we have, or is that was for a whole new set.
And we also need internet access.
Right, that was mentioned.
We do have internet, we would have internet access. I can get you that. Well, I mean, I can't get you that.
Any thoughts?
Can you actually?
Yes.
If I'm correct, that's pertaining to that set of books there.
That is correct.
But I believe independently of that, the planning board and the ZBA have updated books every year that pertain to their business. So the chances of the planning board needing the hard copy, I don't see it's there. The need to have them.
But they would get the updates or anything.
The board independently, I shouldn't say we anymore, they every year buy new books that pertain
just the planning board.
Pertain to all planning board business, independent of that bill there.
Right, any thoughts?
Salmon press.
I'm of the opinion books are becoming more and more antiquated. I deal with having to look up law all day, and I wouldn't know. I would highly recommend internet. I think it's easier to look up, it's quicker to look up, and you can print out stuff and have multiple copies go just as quick and easy. So I would say the books, we can leave our old set and just go to full-on internet from this point forward, but that's my thought.
Well, if we can stall to the next meeting, we'd like everybody to have a little homework assignment to get on and use the ones on the internet. If everybody takes that to find something to look up, and then we'll make the final decision in 2 weeks if we have that time.
I do know, like for myself, and I'm sure for the town clerk, and probably the tax assessor and tax collector as well, we get notifications from our associations of any law or rule changes on a regular basis. I get email on a daily basis.
And one of the other things we could do is check with some other towns to see how many of them have dropped that as an option, and they're going strictly by computer. So we put that all together. I'm leaning toward not buying and using the computer. So let's just do one more last check.
Wakefield and
Yeah, see what they do.
If you do a Google search, you're going to get many hits on RSAs. You want to go to the one that says Gov, NH Gov, which is the state site.
Just save it as a favorite though, so you don't have to worry about doing a real search. You can go to the, just save the appropriate one in your favorites on here, or even make it as your homepage on whichever computer we're going to typically use. And then that'll be the first one that pops up, so there's no problems getting the right or the wrong one up to you.
My table of contents, I have a table of contents for the RSA. My shortcut goes right to that. So when I click on it, it brings the whole table of contents up. And it's super easy to look something up.
Bill?
Yes.
Just bear in mind, as strange as this may seem, everyone may not have internet access.
But when else would they, we're going to come in and use our set, is that what you're saying? If they're going to come in and use our set, they can use the town computer.
Okay.
Town computer doesn't have internet access.
Not the one that would hear from here. Isn't
Yes.
that one?
Yes, that one does.
So they could come and if they needed to look up something, they could use that computer.
The problem with that is you don't want the public coming in here to use a secured system. You'd have to separate that system from the public system for security purposes, if it's the public department.
Even if password protected would be a good idea.
Okay, I take your word for it. We'll have to figure a way around that so that people who would, I don't think we've ever had anybody, well, I shouldn't say that. How many people actually come in from the public to look at it? I don't think we've really had over the years that many people that have done that. It should be here when we're open. We can do it.
Just a thought, I would check with the town attorney because we may be responsible for having a hard copy here for the public.
Good talk.
Which
Probably
would
own
solve that
stocks in
problem.
the company. Very, I wouldn't have thought it, very good. We'll check with her. and
Do you want
see-
to pop her in now?
Sure.
Because
See
she's
what
really
has
good
to
with
say.
these.
But what we get are the supplements every year, not whole new books. We have the books. We just don't have the supplements for any changes.
We got years of them upstairs.
Oh,
once
I
we
know
gave them
this.
away.
I've changed them many years.
So we'll check with her, we'll check with some different towns around and see what they do and see if
Well,
we're-
it's very awkward using those supplements too, as to what you're actually looking for.
Does Virginia still have a petty cash account?
Yes, she does. The only other thing I would say is, that I'll say for my part, is that the property and general liability insurance, it renews on July 1st. And I do all the renewals at this point online. And at the next meeting, I'll bring you what our current property values and everything are. We haven't really changed them much year to year.
Buildings.
So for the buildings and all. So I'll bring that to the next meeting and then I'll need to renew it before May 1st.
We have a value for the insurance company on each of the buildings that we have, and basically we have to reassess if that's accurate numbers. When I was in Concord, there was somebody who did testify in regards to workman's comp. And I was itching to ask them a question, but it would have been inappropriate for me, and they ran out the door, so I couldn't ask them. All right. We have a workshop request here. That's easy enough. $35. Virginia. We get one from the Carroll County Registry of Deeds. They have somebody that does the checking for us and to record things. There's a fee and it's basically charged, so we get a bill every so often.
That was for copies. Did you know who did it?
Yes, Nancy D. did it.
Oh, okay, I figured as much.
For a copy of a form, not actually a deed, it was a mortgage.
We have a thing here from Central New Hampshire VNA Hospice requesting the first quarter payment of the $2,000 that was approved for them in the budget.
That's for when Virginia goes into the state and downloads either birth certificates, marriage licenses, or death certificates. So we pay the state that, and then we get that plus extra money for providing copies to residents.
Okay. This is the school.
It's 26,000, I didn't highlight it, 26,000.
That is low.
All right.
That is something Rose would like to talk to you about.
Yes, there is a new tax collectors workshop. First session was last Thursday, and the second session is next Monday. I'm having Wakefield pay for one day, and I'm asking you guys to pay for the other day. Split the bill that way.
Sounds fair. And so it's about how to lower taxes?
Yeah.
Government doesn't have that tax.
How to make them non-existent.
I need this one for Mr. Nason for some bills. I had somebody question about the election that we recently had here in town, that we did not, people do not know who's running for office or what's a vacancy. And that was put in the paper.
Yes.
You told me it was
Yes.
advertised. That's what I told the person, so we double checked. And I knew you had said it was, so.
Yep.
For the person, if they happen to be watching Ed's thing here taping, that is provided in the newspaper just before the filing time.
And wasn't it on the website? I felt it was on the website as well.
Yeah, I posted the ballot on the website when it was finalized.
These, by the way, cost us a fortune. Anything we put in the paper, I answer very quickly.
So that should go to that top bill.
That goes with Sam.
There was a
Yeah.
question about vacancies. I don't know if that was on the
Oh,
list.
no, I didn't put the vacancies on there, I only
Oh,
put
okay.
who was running. Yeah.
But
That's
that
a
bill
good
is
idea.
for, how much for the,
$60.
no, well, we have a carryover.
And that's for the supervisor of the checklist announcement. So that one announcement was $60.
For Foster's, $48. Eddie, is this yours for the Long Meadow? 14 inches of cable tie, or 14?
Yep.
Okay. Do you need to mark that for Eddie, or?
Is
You're
it-
paying for it personally, or that's just,
No, that's town,
That's the account.
ties to hang the posted signs up.
okay? Crowell's for repair of the 2001 Ford truck. Uh-oh, here we go.
That would be
For the
Fire.
forestry truck.
the forester truck.
Um,
That's the only one we still have.
Includes inspection, mount, balance, and install tires, and some other little things that they did. Total, $225. Bill from the attorney. As far as our Fairpoint lawsuit thing that we got going, as far as charging for the assessment issue with them, and we're part of a large conglomerate of towns that are getting together, and we're paying to fight the battle together, so we have a portion of the bill that we have to pay. Different calls to the attorney again by different people, including the planning board.
I usually break those out and charge the individual departments.
Okay?
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Now we're on to the tax collector.
I've got some information for you here pertaining to 4 pieces of property that are due for deeding to the town by the end of the month. It's tax map 18, lot 4B, 18, lot 4C, Tax map 5, lot 7, and tax map 25, lot 2. These are the 4 for 2010 property taxes that are still unpaid. I've got
So how many back years do they need to have not paid? 3?
2
2
years
years.
and a day from the day that it was liened. Not the day they got the bills, but the day it was liened.
Okay.
And that's coming right up.
Now, can I back you up just
These-
1 second? They owed the taxes.
They owe the taxes.
They got to a certain point that they were liened.
Correct,
And then it's 2 years from when they were liened that we now take the property.
correct.
Question for you, I had somebody ask this. In taking the property and we sell it, do we have any obligation to give them back over and above what they owe us?
If we sell it, I believe the law now is, of course, that law is not something that is in my law books, because once it's deeded to the town, it falls completely under your jurisdiction, out of mine. I believe that now, at this point, we have to give them back everything other than 15% we keep above and beyond what they owe. What I mean by owe is what they owe for the taxes for every year. Okay, say we take these properties now, and in 5 years someone wants to buy it back. Or 5 years we sell it, okay? Because there are 2 completely different scenarios. Then what happens is 15% of the fair market value stays with us, plus all the costs, all the fees, anything related to that property for the whole 5 years. In other words, even though it's off my records, there still would be taxes due on it for every year after it's deeded.
For even the years that it's deeded over to the town, they would have to pay that as well.
They'd have to pay everything. Everything has to be put in, and they have to pay everything back, including, the scenario is, okay, they didn't pay any taxes. So what we'd have to figure out, and it's horrendous, is what the taxes would have been for each ensuing year from the time we took it, plus what is owed at the time we take it, plus the interest on it for all those 5 years. It's a lot of money, and it's a horrendous thing to do.
Now, at
That's
what
why-
point can the person, it's the 2 years after we do this, we deed it, that they can come and
3 years.
ask for it back? 3 years.
3 years. But they still have to follow, they still have to pay everything back.
So we can't do anything basically with it for 3 years.
Better off not.
Okay.
You can sell it the next day, but you're selling it with the knowledge that whoever buys it, if the people want it back in the 3-year period, that they're gonna have to give it back, but the people are gonna have to pay them the
Plus
whole
any
thing.
improvements.
The whole thing, plus any improvements, plus everything.
Are the ones that you have property, or are they homes?
3 are property, 1 is a home.
Okay.
What I'm going to give you today is just a packet that gives you a list of the 4 pieces of property, plus some information on each piece of property. It's not something that we have to deal with right now. We want to deal with it by the end of the month. And we can sit down and look at it and talk about these properties more.
Okay.
As time goes by, there is 1 piece of property there, there is a house, and to my knowledge, from what I have heard, that house is rented. And the people who are in it, who own it, I'm not getting any information back on them, and they have not accepted any letters, certified or otherwise, that I have sent them.
What happens then?
Good question.
They-
We've never been in that situation. We have been in that situation one other time, and the people did buy it back. But it wasn't a renter in there, it was the owner, and the owner was in communication with us, as was the mortgage company through the whole thing.
We don't want to become landlords.
This piece of property does not, to my knowledge, have a mortgage on it. I did have Nancy D. go through with the Registry of Deeds these 4 pieces of property just to do a check. And she didn't charge us anything for that. She was already up there when I called her, and she says, we'll do them right now. She did go over to the probate department for me and get more information, but that piece of property, the payment has been made, so that is not something that we have to deal with this year. But these 4 pieces of property on my desk, or our desk, as we do share an office, I have complete files on each one of these pieces of property, that if you people want to look at them, see what we have and see what you want to do with them. One of them is a piece of property that we have been carrying ever since I've been tax collector. We never charged them, but when we did our last reval, Avatar said we had to charge them. They had to get a tax bill because the cemetery is just a little bit, there's only 1/3 of an acre, but the cemetery is just like, I don't know, 100 square feet or something like that. And we had to charge them taxes on the remainder of the 1/3 of an acre. We've discussed this piece of property at other meetings, especially when we were talking about a town cemetery.
We still, I can remember a time when people were charged, I remember Clifton, I think was one of the ones who was charged tax on the cemetery that was on his property. Is that,
No.
they were assigned $1, we took that off?
We don't charge.
Okay, there was a time it was put on tax.
But it's just the cemetery, it's not the whole, like this one is 1/3 of an acre. And as I say, I've carried it through for 28 years now. And Avatar just said it's time to start charging them. Go through the 3-year process, deed it to the town, then it will be off my records.
Questions?
Yes. On the property that has the home on it, you're sending a registered letter to them?
Correct.
They're not accepting it, or,
Well, it's
or is
coming
it-
back
or-
undeliverable.
which means bad address?
It could be anything.
Okay.
It could be anything. It could be, I'd have to look and see. That is in the files. All those are in the file. Anything I get back, let's go certified letter, mail, I do not open. We cannot open it because if we ever needed it for a court case, it would be void if it was open. It has to be left closed, and it is stapled to the back of a copy of the deeding notice that goes out. As I say, I have files on all 4 of these properties in on my desk and your desk, so you guys can look at them at your leisure. And I do have deed waivers, deed forms for deed waivers. The law reads that I must deed the property unless I receive a deed waiver from you guys telling me not to.
Would it be appropriate, or whatever, for us to get a letter to the landlord of this rented house through the tenant? Can we do that?
Yes. I would recommend that we would, in the next couple of weeks, look into this more seriously and do more than the law actually requires us to do. We can do that.
Okay.
I must follow the law, but with your okay, I think we can work together on doing more. The other parcel that I have that has been paid, I did go way above what is normally required for my job because it was a piece of property where there had been deaths in the family, and the property had gone from one person to another person, and then a second death occurred and it went to the third person. So I did do some investigating myself at the probate department to see where it stood right now. And then, as I say, Nancy D. also went over and double checked with them. And then we did get in touch with the owners now, and it is not in a deeded situation. So that is one case where we did. I felt as though it was an extenuating circumstance above and beyond just your normal run-of-the-mill. I have tried also to send other letters out to the ones, tax map 18, those two lots there, which are only lots, because we did get it is a call to deed, but it's a statutory mortgage, something or other, that had been filed at the Registry of Deeds that took it out of the LLC that was in, and money was changed, and it went to one of the owners of the LLC. And I have also been trying to get information on to them, just feeling as though he should know what's going on anyway, because he's one of the owners. But I just really want in that situation to try and cross all my T's and have everything in order, because I'm not comfortable with that particular scenario.
Right.
Probably not a question for you, but maybe it's just more of a point of concern. The house the actual deed that we've taken possession of, we've actually deeded now to the town, make sure I understand this properly, the one that has the actual home on it?
You mean this one here?
Yeah, the one where the people are renting?
It hasn't been deeded yet.
When would that happen?
The end of the month. After, this is preliminary to give you guys a chance, because the final decision as to whether we take a piece of property in tax deed rests with you selectmen.
All right, but my concern is with the people living in the house as renters, does that transfer liability to the town if anything should happen to them as renters on property we now take possession of?
Oh yeah, well we've gone through that with other things, yeah.
Okay.
And we
would take out a policy?
We would instantly take and put insurance, which is what we have done in the past.
Okay, all right, that's why I didn't understand.
That is a common thing to do, but,
yeah, okay. Interesting, okay. Thank you.
And since I do the property, I do all the insurance online, then I can add it instantly online.
Here are the,
it takes like a day.
Oh, cool. All right, so it's concerned with it.
These are the deed waiver forms. I don't know if you want to keep those in case you want to.
This is something they would fill out.
If they do not want me to deed it, it has to be a deed waiver form signed by the
Do we just, is this non-public or is it public information? This is public.
It's public information. Anything pertaining to property taxes is public information.
Okay. I think we should try to make an extra effort on the one with the home on it to see if we can't contact the owner. So
we'll start doing that.
You would draft them a letter or something?
Well, I'm going to say everything I've sent has been coming back so far. I was actually thinking of calling them. It's not something I wanted to do. I know some municipalities, they even go and knock on doors.
I was going to ask that, could we pay a constable to hand this thing over to?
Well, the owner of it is in Beverly, Massachusetts.
Right,
actually.
right. That's what I'm saying. I know we could probably contact Massachusetts, the constable.
I would think the first thing we would do is try to get in touch with the people that are renting the property. We're really, running a very fine line here, because they can turn around and accuse us of harassment.
Mm-hmm.
It's really none of the municipalities' business why people don't pay their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And they can two different scenarios. Number one, it can be considered harassment by the people. Another one is if you don't treat everyone the same, somebody else can go back and say, well, you called them, but you didn't call me. So everything is...
Is there a privacy issue we need to be concerned about if we contact the renters, or would we be non-discreet as to why we're trying to reach them?
Good question.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
we could just draft a letter, put it in an envelope, and ask them to forward it. Or we could ask the individual, the renter, or ask the individual what the address is of the...
Well, obviously, the renter has a little bit of a vested interest in the whole thing. They're living in the house.
But we don't have to tell the renter what we're doing, we just need a
And I
contact.
had heard that there was a renter in there.
So
I'm
we
not
need to
positive.
ask them, or we need to contact the owner without
Yeah.
saying what?
Yeah.
You know, where they have that.
Yeah, keep it kind of really vague, because
Yeah, do you really want this to be,
I agree that if anyone, people live in the house don't need this hassle, so.
no, they don't need the
But
hassle,
we can-
but
but we
they
can't.
also don't want to be out on the curb.
Right.
Not that the town would
No,
put
but they
them
have
out
a
on
vested
the curb.
interest
if
in
we
trying to
want,
get us
you know.
in touch with that owner, so.
Maybe
Ed, you had a
they're
question?
better off.
Yes, I'll keep the name private, but the owner of Map 5 Lot 7 watches my videos. So if you'd like to give a personal message to them, now you can, because this will be seen by them. So
Well, I hope that particular person will contact our tax collector ASAP, because we
Correct.
would like to resolve this if we
Correct.
could.
I'll clarify the map and lot for the camera.
What's the
Can we give the location just?
Map 5, Lot 7.
map 5, lot 7? We need you.
I'll also forward any information that you need
I
for
mean,
them to see.
No,
it's just not something that I can just come to you in a one-to-one and
Understood.
talk to you about, okay?
the last one is the cemetery you can't find the heirs to.
Never have. I've
Okay.
been, as I say, I've been tax collector for 28 years, and I inherited it.
Okay. And,
It is a cemetery that's being taken care of by the town.
but we're getting the land around the
It's
cemetery.
the land around the cemetery that is being taxed.
Expansion
And
possibilities?
it's
Third of an
minimal.
acre.
It's minimal.
Possibly. Now watch, now the first two lots,
Yeah,
you know what I want to ask? These individuals have a whole host of tax bills.
correct.
And you put all, that was my understanding, you put all the tax bills in one envelope and mail it to them?
Correct,
And they pay some of them, but they don't pay these two?
correct.
Okay. So they are getting the bills. You would think they're getting the bills if they're paying some.
They're getting the bills. If you look at the invoice summary on the next page of that, for that piece of property, for those two lots, you will see that there's a very large bill, and that was because the land was taken, the lots were taken out of current use because there was a change in them. And we abated a portion of those because they had taken the whole lots out of current use instead of just the part that was improved, so to speak. I think it was just a driveway, it didn't look like much improvement, but that's just my thought. So of course now they're not paying, they didn't pay the current use change tax. That was the original. And they didn't pay the property tax at the regular rate, not the current use rate. And that's what we've been carrying ever since.
And the procedure would be pay the tax and either take us to court or go for an abatement or do something, but you have to pay the tax.
You
Is
have
my,
to pay the tax. Property taxes have to be paid.
Shucks.
Okay, Madam?
Any other?
The only other thing I want to say is that we will be running our tax lien on Friday this week. And I will have the information to you pertaining that at the next meeting. I have a month to get it to you, but I'll give it to you. And I also will be giving you a bill because we'll have to do the big turnaround check. In other words, for Brian's education, tax lien is done once a year on all the properties that the taxes are not paid. Basically what that does is it provides us a mechanism to file and have those recorded at the Registry of Deeds. It's called perfecting the lien. It changes the interest rate from 12% to 18%. And it starts the process that ends with deeding if they're still not paid 2.5 or 2 years ago. And part of this perfecting the lien, what has to happen is I have to figure out, once we do it, how much the town is paying. Basically what's happening is the town is paying the property taxes for people and allowing us to put a lien, a perfected lien on the property. So I then submit a bill to the treasurer. She gives me a check for the whole amount, and I turn right around and run right back over and deposit it back in the bank account again. So it's just a way to help ensure that this lien is perfected properly.
A leading question. If people do not pay their taxes and we have $100,000 out for taxes due, who picks that up in the tax when we go to spend money? I know what you're going to say, but ask you.
Well, the rest of us do in the long run.
Okay.
The rest of us do in the long run. We have to...
And the short run.
And the short run. We have to pay our bills, basically. We have to pay our bills regardless of whether people...
So we only have that income, so it's spread out among everybody.
That's right.
Okay. But if we do get it in, then that helps us when eventually if somebody pays it, that's a benefit to us when it does get, when it is paid.
That's right. There are certain things that, you know, we estimate every year how much is going to come in. We estimate how much we're going to get on yield tax, gravel tax, interest, and the current use change tax, which is usually a biggie. If we get a few current use change where people take their property out of current use, that's kind of like, you know, a real windfall for us. But basically,
Right.
property taxes have to be paid.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Planning board.
Hello. Can we stay back here? Or do you want me to come up?
No, come on, get your, you're on camera.
Pardon me?
We need you on camera.
Oh, okay.
You can look at the back of your head like they do.
You can face everybody.
Should I face the camera or the board?
Do a dance.
I've been elected chairman of the planning board again at last
Why
night's
don't you
meeting.
turn around so we can see?
Okay.
We'll listen to you from the side.
All right. At any rate, we set an agenda for the year last night. And the two of the things that we set an agenda for, other than walk-in business, which I'm sure we'll pick up. We've already got something for Bruce Mountain. We're going to schedule a hearing for disc golf. Of course, he's going to put in a path through the woods with frisbees, et cetera. But the agenda we set to get accomplished at the planning board level is, number one, in all my conversations with Laura Spector over all the different things that popped up in the town last year, our zoning ordinances are convoluted and disorganized. This is Laura's opinion, and it's actually, she showed me different facets of other zoning ordinances, how we have things in one place that should be in other places. No change is needed to what the ordinances state, but just how it's organized. It's poorly organized. And from a legal standpoint, it would be smart if we were to do that. Now, that's the light part of what we're supposed to do for the year. The heavy part is CIP. I procrastinated that on that in the past, and we didn't tackle it last year. We had a lot of other business on our plate. This year, it's going to be the thrust. And it's a complicated issue. I've got 12.5 CPIs from all kinds of towns around here, large and small. Some of them are good, some of them aren't too good. It all depends, you know, on who put the thing together. There are good things to look at when you generate a CPI, or CIP. However, a good CIP is a real complicated thing, and in this town, it has to do with pretty much roads and the buildings.
Gary, can you explain what that is? CIP?
Capital Improvements Program, I thought everybody here did that. Basically, the Capital Improvements Program is supposed to be generated by the planning board. That's state policy. It doesn't have to be, but it's generated by the planning board in conjunction with whatever, like Marilou and the Heritage Commission has come up with things for the townhouse and the schoolhouse, and the road committee works on the roads, et cetera, et cetera. But the CIP is supposed to encompass all of that stuff and set an agenda. I have paperwork on what the CIP is supposed to do back there, and we need to make it available to the town, for anybody that wants copies of it, so they can understand what the process is. But it's really, to do any good job at it, it's a complex process. A mediocre job doesn't get the town much. Only a good job does. And I noticed on the agenda that you're going to talk about the townhouse somewhere down along the line here tonight. And I presume that has to do with some of this other business with what needs to be done over there. I don't know.
As well, most of it has to do with the water damage.
Okay, that's the water damage. I would like to talk about some of the things in CPI at some point, if that's convenient. If it's not convenient tonight, I won't address those issues.
Okay, can you hold up and we'll address it as we go down the meeting, because we're looking at this from a different point of view than you are. So could you wait till we get down there?
Yeah, certainly.
Good. I was going to contact you anyway, get your input on some of the things that we're looking at.
Okay, well, this is good. We have some definite ideas on how this should get put together, and I'll explain some other things.
Well, we may not be going at this the same way, so we need to discuss that. Well, that's what we need to iron that out.
Well, let me put it to you this way. With all the problems that those buildings have over there, and all the things that need to be done, whether you demolish it or you repair it, what the town has not at this point is values. I mean, what Salmon Falls presented to the town is wholly inadequate to establish values. That's what an architect uses for a prospectus on getting a job. It's a preliminary thing. I mean, it's nice and all, but you can't go out for bid on those things with that report that was submitted to the town. Much more concrete values have to be established on all the things that need to be done there in order to get appropriate bids. Otherwise, it's going to be a subjective thing to a bidder, and you never know what you're going to get until you get into a contract. And I've got examples of stuff that I'd like to share with the town. I'm willing to dedicate my time for nothing as a non-bidder to get involved in this, so that the town doesn't make decisions based on lack of knowledge about things.
That's what I was going to talk to you, to tap your knowledge bank later on, but we'll talk about it as we go down the line.
Okay.
I tried to skip over the administrative assistant, and I apologize.
The only thing I have is a veteran's application, and I reviewed everything qualifies. It's for map 10, lot 55. Third page is where you need to sign at the bottom, so if you want to look through it.
I'm sorry, could you tell me what that is? It's a veteran's?
It's a veteran's application.
Because of a discount?
Exemption.
An abatement.
Okay, so it's an abatement based upon the
It's an
veteran's
exemption.
status?
Exemption.
It's exemption.
Okay.
on the thing.
It decreases it,
Yep.
doesn't.
It gives them a decreased
It
rate?
gives them a credit of $100 off.
So it's a veteran's exception.
Yeah, exemption. Yep.
Okay. Third page. All three of us?
Yeah.
Please print. Okay, and today's the 9th. That's an issue.
That's the only thing I have.
Okay. Code enforcement officer. And road agent, if you'd like to be, whichever you'd like to do
Sure.
first.
I can handle them both at the same time. I have two intent to excavates. You gentlemen to sign.
Rich, do you need signs?
Yes.
Okay.
Are these going to be for homes, I assume?
No, this is the two.
Oh,
gravel pits.
For gravel
sand
pits,
pits,
okay.
yeah.
Now, why would they, if they already own a gravel pit, require this?
It's just like the intent to cut every year on the March 31st, April 1st deadline. The DRA wants you to get a new permit and pay more taxes for the next year.
Okay. So it's the same gravel pits we have in
Same pits,
operation, they're
same-
just renewing their...
Exactly. And it's just a state requirement. And then other code stuff, we had, have an application for 90 Lyford Road for some renovations. And then other than that, it's just been phone calls and questions and for the code officer. Road agent, dealing with mud issues here, there, and everywhere. That's getting better. And we started cutting some trees that were damaged and rotted through the winter. And did a little coal patching.
Very good.
About 2 tons of coal patch so far.
Spring's coming.
Yep.
Are we street sweeping? We don't do any street sweeping.
Yeah.
Oh, we do?
Yep. And hopefully that'll be next week.
Okay.
Do we still rent that little machine?
No, we haven't done that for 3 years, I think, 3 or 4 years.
It's a very expensive little operation. Very expensive.
Oh, you gotta get it off the road.
Conservation Commission. Emergency Management Director. Forest Fire Warden.
Just permits are required. The snow's gone.
Heritage Commission.
The Heritage Commission will be meeting tomorrow night. We have many things in our plate, including Old Home Day. And trying to see what we will do and see if we'll do another dinner. Will we do another dinner?
Why not?
Yes. So, we will probably more likely do another dinner. Yeah, I already have the kitchen, now I have the meat cooker. So, in the past 2 years, we've served dinners to over 100 people on that one night, and I think it's a great day for the town. We'll be talking more about that tomorrow night and going over different things, including plans for the townhouse and all of that. So,
We meet here at 7 tomorrow?
we meet here at 7. You'll get an email tonight.
Governor, Wentworth School, oh, you want a question on that?
Marilou, I had asked for a synopsis of the input you received on the townhouse. And
Oh,
you said you were going to give that to the selectmen and you give me a copy?
you know what, I will get you one, Ernie.
Governor Wentworth School District.
Actually, it's the Governor Wentworth Regional School District, but that's okay.
Well, change that letter in there.
You had asked the school board to have a rep here on your first meeting of the month, each month, and it'll either be myself as the at-large member or Dr. Jim Manning as the Brookfield representative.
Okay. You shared that.
I thought you'd like to have a little update on some of the things that are happening.
Excuse me, before I forget, we have our planning board chairman, did he leave? Where is he? Aaron. The school board has requested using this building to have a meeting the same night there's a planning board meeting in August. Would you be agreeable to move the planning board meeting next door and allow them to be here? We promise to be nice.
He's asking me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
I'm sorry. Before I forget,
land,
I thought you were just mulling this over.
Here's the question again, I'll come back to the world.
The school board has requested to use this building because of acoustics.
Okay.
They would like to use this in August, but it's the same night that the planning board meets. Would you be willing to move your meeting next door and allow them to use this building?
Well, I don't see why not.
Well, I remember. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Can we?
What's I gonna The old man moment. Oh, can we use the facilities here in case they're not repaired over there if we need it? I mean,
Absolutely.
okay.
Every year we have some retirements. Well, our superintendent of schools, Jack Robinson, has been with us for about 15 years, and he is retiring at the end of June. And so the school board has gone out and hired some new people. Kathy Cuddy-Egbert, who is the assistant superintendent, is moving up to superintendent. And Heather Cummings, who's our director of curriculum, is being promoted to assistant superintendent. Rusty Ross at the middle school, some of you have probably, I don't know, maybe not this crowd. You have kids at the middle school. Rusty is retiring also at the end of June, and we're promoting Susan Onifrey, who is the assistant principal, up to being the principal of the Kingswood Regional Middle School. One of the questions that comes up, that I asked the question, we've expanded all this space, and now I'm asking the principals, what are you doing with the space? So tonight I thought I'd give you a couple of comments on the Lakes Region Technology Center. We've been able to expand our programs from what they were, and they're so complicated, I still don't understand all of them, but I'm working on them. One of the things we've been able to add is precision manufacturing. And students in this program will gain competencies in measuring to 1/1000th of an inch. They'll learn how to use mills, grinders, and lathes. They'll also be able to do CAD, CAM work, and that doesn't really mean a lot to you, but one of the students here in Brookfield actually designed a small engine, one runner. He designed every nut, every bolt, every piece of equipment in that engine, and then he manufactured it. All that in high school. Absolutely incredible. So these are some of the skills that our kids are learning, and it makes them very marketable when they graduate. So they don't have to go to college. There's plenty of employment right around here within 45 miles. Next year, we'll be having a child care program. We've even got a small playground for the kids. And this will be worked in conjunction with the Wolfboro Area Children's Center. And the intent is to expand the scope of the program, which now is called Future Educator Academy, and it's focusing on K through 8 rather than just early childhood. Again, this extra space lets us do these things. The agricultural science is being expanded. We've got added welding. We've got equipment heavy enough that we can actually handle tractors and trucks and bigger pieces of equipment. We also have an aquaculture where we have a tank and fish, and the kids are learning how to raise fish in marketing. Auto technology, they're learning how to form, shape, weld, and finish metals, as well as custom metalwork and painting. We also have a model hotel room where the kids in hospitality are learning how to maintain what it takes to run that type of an operation. So these are just some of the things in the Lakes Region Technology Center which have been added or are coming next year. And so we're trying to make good use of this space that we have available. We also now have students coming in from Farmington to take advantage of this, so that as in part our student population has decreased a little bit, we've brought in some other students to help offset your taxes.
I have a question, if you
Sure.
don't mind. We built this space so what they have could expand by adding new problems, so we've now filled up the high school where they would have to build another addition.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
The original intent, starting back in the year 2000, we formed a committee to work on the space needs with a plan to get us through the year 2020. We just completed it last year. And that should carry us through 2020. And what we do with outside schools, if we do take their students and they start as a freshman, we guarantee them 4 years. As we see our student population coming up where we can no longer support that, then we can give them a notice and stop the freshmen coming in, but give the other kids their education at Kingswood per their request. So it's a very manageable thing that we're doing.
Okay. Anybody have a question for the school board members?
I wanted to know, how are those programs funded? The one from the Technology Center? Who funds that?
That's just regular educational funding.
And from the state, or?
Well, we receive a small amount of money.
Carl Perkins money.
From the federal government. We receive a small amount of money from the state, but the bulk of all the monies come from local taxpayers.
Mr. Manning, we're going to ask some.
The students, in addition, do a number of projects, that particularly in the tech center, the students do a number of projects. I mean, the dining room is an example that offset a lot of the costs that they create for themselves. I mean, they're basically, the dining room is actually, one can't use the term, but they don't lose money. I can't say they make a profit because that would be inappropriate because it's a nonprofit organization, but they do break even without any trouble, and there's supposed to be a little left over somewhere for other things. One of the things I think that was really interesting was when you're talking about the access to space and how we're going to structure it, looking at the projections for growth over the next 10 years in our area, and that takes us past 2020, we're probably close to flatline. Ossipee may be growing a little faster, but we have actually one town is actually shrinking. Effingham's actually gotten smaller. Now that's the smallest district. Next to us, that's the second smallest town, but it's still there actually shrinking. We have an aging population in our district, as maybe you're all aware, and as the population has been aging, so has the population of the school district, so it's getting a little smaller. Our incoming classes are not quite as big. In fact, actually, we're going to have to do some personnel adjustments at the Carpenter Crescent Lake level right now because we don't have enough students in one section to take care of a teacher that we're going to have to figure out where they're going to place that person for the next year. They'll stay in the district, but may not be in that school because unfortunately the population doesn't quite support it. That happens. I don't think you'll be seeing huge swings in population in our area for quite some time.
And you are going to tag team who comes which month?
Yes, I think we can arrange it. I'm here tonight technically as the observer. I also would like to thank everybody for voting Ernie back on the board. I don't think people realize that he took a 1-year hiatus, and I'm glad to have him back because he's been more valuable than most people realize. He probably saved this district a lot of money that people don't realize when it came to the building project. He spent many, he will not tell you this. He's going to shoot me for doing this. He won't tell you this, but I get news for you. He spent more hours on that project than any of the engineers who designed the building. That's pretty good effort. Thanks, Ernie.
We're very fortunate to have Ernie serving on our behalf and the school district.
Oh, yeah.
That's wonderful. All righty.
You can do me now.
You're on. Cemetery trustees. Town clerk. Joint loss management. Skipping that.
Well, we did some work.
We did some work.
Wow.
And we studied the new rulings, and we just do not have to file reports. But the committee will continue to function.
Okay.
But no reports, we'll have to schedule a meeting.
Okay. Website statistics, quarterly statistics.
Yep. Had a couple extra copies, I don't know where they went, but there's not enough for everybody in the room. Anyway, the Brookfield NH.org website, we had quite a big increase in the number of people accessing our site over the last 3 months compared to last year. So last year we were averaging about, I would say, let's say 1,000. It's hard to say people, but let's just say it's 1,000 people hitting the website each month. In January, February, and March, we went from about 1,400 up to almost 1,800 people hitting the website during those months. On an average daily basis, that was between 45 and 55 people hitting the websites each day. Then, how many places did they go in our websites? Last year we were 3,500 pages accessed each month. In December, January, February, we went from 5,000 to almost 6,000. So something happened last end of last year, the beginning of this year, that made people want to look at our website. I help to maintain the website. Jessica also does. If you have anything you would like to have on the website, if you have any suggestions for improvements, please call us, send us an email, whatever you want to do. For you people on boards, if you want things changed in your boards, things like the new people on the Conservation Commission, let us know what they are so we can get the updates into the website. And then the last piece of statistics that I've been looking at is what pages are people going to? People are starting to look at the minutes and agendas. So again, you people on boards that don't necessarily post your stuff in advance, people are starting to look. And if you want help getting that stuff on the website, I'm just a phone call or an email away. Planning board. People have started really looking at the planning board pages. Town clerk has been very popular. And for some reason, in February, the history of the town had 1,700 hits. Those pages on the history. So those are places people are looking. And if you have any questions?
What are the pages of history?
Oh, I don't remember exactly.
I mean, is it something from our history book?
It's things that Craig and probably Marilou have input, things like the history of the Townhouse, the Civil War.
Yes.
Not Civil War, Revolutionary War.
Yes.
Packet. Things like that.
But there were issues, so I'm sure that got through to people and they wanted to hear more about it. Just as I'm sure the traffic picked up prior to the prior to the elections.
Yes. Yes, I noticed a couple days after the election there were a lot of hits on the website, in town clerk area specifically.
Results.
Yeah.
We need to move you on.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. I'm seeing I'm falling behind here. So. Agricultural Commission. Nobody. Well, we do.
Agriculture Commission meets on the first Monday of the month, 6:30 right here. And the May meeting is going to be election of officers.
Any big happenings agriculturally wise?
I'll probably take account of the maple sugar crop made in Brookfield this year and talk about the ground warming up and getting ready to do stuff.
When do you meet next?
First Monday of May.
We're hoping that I'm speaking for myself here, that the agricultural, some of the sap producers might be willing to give us a good deal on some maple syrup that we're going to use for breakfast. So we're not asking for free, we're just asking for a good price. So if you could pass that on to a couple of the producers.
Both of them?
Yeah, both of them. Maybe they would be willing to give us a deal on some sap. Okay. We're not asking for syrup. Yeah, not the sap. You keep the sap. Syrup. Thank you.
I think that's a good idea. We'll talk about that.
Okay. Good advertising too. Little thing on there. Okay. If you could ask, appreciate it. Regional Planning Commission. I left you off the agenda. Sorry.
That's a very complicated issue, but I can give you a quick rundown. There's a new system that the Department of New Hampshire DOT is using. It's called Decision Lens, and it's a computer program that uses algorithms, and basically different departments, you get highway departments, bridge engineer, and other people that actually will push a button, and they have a rating system, and it's basically to prioritize highway projects. And nothing so far has really affected Brookfield. The only thing that's on the list to do is something we've talked about a long time, which is the intersection here, Lyford Road and 109. So that's about it.
What was the?
About redesigning that intersection because of a safety issue.
All right. It's going to be interesting. Wait till Zena's in town.
I was just thinking that.
Next time we'll have a more comprehensive report because there is a lot going on regionally, but it doesn't necessarily affect us. There's inventorying of all the culverts. They're looking for parcel data that they can plug into their, it's called the GIS document, which has, it's basically a compilation or a layering of all the data of everything for resources that we have, the land, where the electric goes, where the sewers and everything else goes.
Good, thank you. Any other committees that we missed? Okay, we're on to old business. Perambulation. You heard nothing?
We're still doing that?
Well, I think we just pulled the plug and...
It's,
Sorry.
I have secondhand news on the perambulation. I believe Nate Fogg was taking care of that for us.
Yes.
He's still looking for that one piece of the puzzle that he can't find. As soon as he finds that, he can.
Well, we've been doing it for a year and a half, 2 years, so we're...
That's secondhand information.
Well, we've been very patient for that information, and if he's going to find it, he better find it by next month.
Okay.
Right, otherwise, we're going to pull the plug, and that's it. He's out of luck. Okay? So if you could put that on for next month, for May, let's either hear from him, he has it, or he doesn't have it, because we've been very patient. Selectmen's hours. We had discussion on Saturdays being something that you folks wanted. What Saturdays, and how's this going to work?
it's wherever my Friday office hour would work, I would go to come on in at 9 to 12.
On Saturday.
On Saturday.
And I'd like to propose, given that I've spent a fair number of Fridays here with very little activity, that maybe we move the selectmen's hours to the last Saturday of the month, from 9 to 11, 9 to 12, whatever, and do it once a month on a Saturday morning.
And we found that if you want to give them consistency, we can always do that. You know, I would ask that all my office hours would be on Saturdays.
Oh, yeah, it would only be Saturdays.
Okay, well,
The last Saturday of the month, we would take turns rotating through.
Okay, that's fine. As long as we have the flexibility of flip-flopping,
Switching.
we've always done that. If you have an
Absolutely.
engagement or something, we've always helped each other out.
Then we can post it as the last Saturday of the month, 9 to 12.
Yeah, 9 to 12 is the full quarter.
Okay, that sounds good.
Starting,
April,
The last Saturday.
okay, starting in April.
Yes, that
hey, we have the breakfast then. Hey, that's good. Go all
See you here or there?
You want to take it?
Sure, okay. We'll all take it. Look at everybody. Okay?
I'll put out a new schedule.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, does that mean that Jessica will be here on the alternate Saturdays from when I'm here? I mean Fridays from when I'm here?
Yes, we authorized that last
Okay,
year.
because in the month of June, I will be here every Friday.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get into June. 'cause we
June
may
and
have things-
December, the months that I
Okay.
send out in a collecting taxes, I am always
We may have some
here.
additional work for the
I'm
people out
always
of
here
trouble.
every Friday.
Schools are letting out, so we may be able to work something out. Townhouse. Now Gary's ears will perk up on this one.
Somebody punch
You
you.
with us there? Okay. Wake up, Tom.
No, we made some, let me report, we made some progress. Tom, we want to thank Tom for installing a support for the vanity top. So we're ready for the plumber to put the vanity back in. We want to thank Jessica and Brian for painting the floor. Brian
The
painted
kids
the
too.
floor, the kids too, and Jessica, I think you hit the kitchen.
I did.
Your assessment?
It really needs more cleaning.
Oh,
We need water to
Oh,
get it
my
done.
goodness. You know what? I
Hot water.
talked to the plumber and the water is on in the kitchen. It's just someone had turned the valve. Okay.
I didn't know that.
And I didn't know that, and he told me that yesterday. So I'm like, I could use water.
Well, question. for-
Anyway, but it really needs to be cleaned.
Would it pay to pull up that floor and put down the 1x1 tiles, the cheapo stick downs? It's gotta be better than what we have. And put those down for, you would probably do it for $50 or something, because it's not that big a room.
I actually bought like a bleach, soft scrub bleach, to bleach that floor. It's so bad.
No, it is bad.
It is so bad. I mean, I was gonna get on my hands and knees with a brush. because I just can't stand it.
It also needs to be totally,
Oh,
the Heritage Commission has talked about just going in, spending a weekend and totally cleaning top to bottom.
yeah. It
Getting
needs
rid
to
of
be
stuff,
done.
because we no longer have other organizations, to the best of my knowledge, like the Brookfield Bloomers, that are using the kitchen. So now's the time, if we're the only ones using it, to really give it a good cleaning and get back to where we were at one point, where we had a kitchen crew that looked out for things.
Well, we were impressed with your cleaning because Rich and I went in the next day not knowing we were going to do that, ready to clean, and we said, whoa, what a difference it made. So
Can't
you and
stay
your
still.
crew did a great job.
So, but the question is it usable for the breakfast, or should we try to get it?
Oh, I'd like definitely to clean that before,
I
even more.
I think once we get the hot water back in there, I think we can give it another go over, Chrissy and I, and we should be able to.
It's just a matter of turning the tank on as far as that.
Yeah, we just, well, we didn't know that we were apprehensive turning water on, not knowing if we didn't want to create a second water loss, so we just erred on the side of caution. Now we know that we can get the water tank on and we could hit it in there in another couple hours and eventually we could have
I mean,
it shipped.
the plumber will be there on Thursday to finish, just to, everything will be done.
The toilet.
And I want him to turn the water on before I do, so, yeah.
Right.
The plumber's coming to turn the toilet on
Thursday,
and put the water to the vanity, to the
Yep.
sink.
yeah.
So we'll now have
It'll
our
all be-
bathroom for the planning board
Yeah,
to use.
exactly.
Which bathroom?
Lavatory will be
Men's.
working.
The men's?
Yeah, the one to the
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
You ladies have to.
Did the little hole in the wall, was that taken care of? I didn't look.
Tom did that.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought of it afterwards.
It's
when I'm
not
home.
takeable anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
We had one complaint that did not like this.
You have to knock now.
The Townhouse, we met as a group a week ago tonight, or last Tuesday, a week ago. And we met with the Heritage Commission just to go over thoughts about what could happen with that space. Because we're at a point that maybe there's some things we need to take care of right away. That's costing us a fortune to heat it. It wasn't our fault it ran out of oil, but there are a lot of things that maybe we could begin addressing one at a time. And the decision from the group was to go to a charrette in which we brought in somebody professional to run it, to gather the information once and for all, what the people want. Everybody would be invited, any tax owner that wanted to come, property owner, excuse me, they would be welcome to come. And this person would work them through at least one day, maybe a day and a half, to gather information, what they really want to see over in that building and what they don't want to see. And based on that information, proceed further, if necessary. The other thing that we would need for that is some estimates of what things would cost, so that people would know, oh, they want to move the building, or they want to put new heat in, what's it going to cost you to do these things? And the estimates would only be estimates, and anything we did other than a minor repair would go to bid. Gary, you've been waiting, thank you.
Yeah, I want to speak to some of these issues because it's part of CIP. And I brought a couple of things. Having been in business for 40 years, I've passed some of this stuff around if anyone wants to look at any of it, but there's only one way this can be approached if anything's going to get done at all. And the first thing is all the things that need to be done over there. There's a wish list and there's a necessary list. And the priorities have to be set. The structural stuff is first, and that has to be priced. And there's no such thing as an estimate in this business. Estimates mean it can cost you a whole lot more than somebody said it was going to cost up front. If it's not specified at the beginning, nobody can possibly do a price quote, which is a price to do the job. I have a thing here. All right, I design a house for somebody. As a designer, I come up with a spec sheet. And there's a spreadsheet. I brought one of mine with me. Anybody can take a look at this if they want. What this does is it specifies what needs to be done. So there's no questions. There's no variations in opinion by what one contractor wants and what one person in the town is thinking and somebody else in the town is thinking. It specifies exactly what's going to be done, and it can be quoted exactly. We're not digging into the ground here. We're not going to hit ledge. There's not a whole lot of hidden variables. Everybody knows what's wrong with that, and it's pretty obvious. I'm crawling under there Saturday, anyway, to do some measuring and checking on this stuff. What
I remember, if you crawl under there, would you see if we have plastic at the front part? We do not think there's plastic under there.
Well,
Double check.
Under the townhouse.
Think about that before you do it.
Okay?
200 years that's been there and it's not rotten. The plastic might generate a moisture problem. There's two schools of thought on the subject, and I don't care what anybody else says, there are two schools of thought. And sometimes plastic entrains moisture, and 200 years that thing has sat there without rotten sills, and that does make a statement. Anyway, what I want to say about this is a spec sheet. And before anybody can bid on this particular, or any one of these items here, and give you an accurate bid that means anything at all, because everything else is just an estimate, it absolutely means nothing. We can have a cost overrun of 5%, 10%, 20%. This automatically goes with a design project. I'm willing to draw these up without cost to the town. This cannot be used for a price quote. It can be used for an estimate, but you'll get a different range from 5 people, and they'll come in and they'll say, well, we ran into this, and we ran into that, and we ran into this. This is a spec sheet. If anybody wants to look at it, they can see just what a spec sheet means, and it details everything. There's a spreadsheet in here for every stick of lumber and every single item on the job, for every light bulb. It's all here.
Question for you.
Yep.
We have dueling opinions on what should be done.
And I understand that.
But how do you resolve that?
Here's how you can resolve that. That's actually the simplest part. Before you can figure out all those things, you have to have quantitative values. In other words, we'll start with item A, let's say the foundation. That may be fine. Then there's the floor. That structure is not fine. Each one of those things should be treated as an individual item. For instance, spreadsheet here. One of the items in this Excel spreadsheet is the floor system. The floor system, defines every single piece of lumber required to fix that. It's all here. Unit price, description, quantity, unit, labor, total, and remarks. What that does is it gives you a comprehensive, absolute, factual knowledge of the materials needed for the job and what their value is. And the labor is another story. You can guesstimate the labor because you're going to go out for bid, but the material list doesn't change. And that's important because that's where the snow jobs come in from builders. And unless somebody puts that together, there's no way for anybody to quantify it. So every item is its own entity. The floor system, the roof system, the walls, they're their own entity. What materials are required there and the value of those materials.
Who decides which of the systems that you're going to use?
Let me finish.
Okay, sorry.
You know the floor is no good. So you're going to have to put this much materials in, and if you specify it, then a contractor who's going to bid on it knows exactly what he needs to do this job. He's not going to get it from what Salmon Falls put for it. This is a preliminary thing if you want to get a job and you're an architect. This is not that's all it is. It's really just a suggestion. If you want prices, you have to have specifications. There are none there, really. Now, I never read it cover to cover. Now, I'll draw this up if the town wants it, what the specifications are to do these things, and realistic. For instance, I have a guy coming here to quote for the demolition. There's two prices. There's a
demolition of what?
The schoolhouse.
Okay.
Because the town that's a quantity that the town needs to have for comparative reasons. Mm-hmm. Number one, there's two prices. There's a homeowner price and there's a contractor price. A guy that puts a roof on the townhouse knows he's going to put a 35 to 50 year roof on. He's never coming back to Brookfield again in his lifetime, probably, unless he's 20. So he's going to give you one price. And it's going to be twice as much as the price I get because he's going to do 5 jobs for me in the next year or whatever. I'm perfectly willing to pass that off to the town for whatever they need. One of the guys, and this is Ernie's thing, he's with the chimneys coming here on either Thursday. Rick's going to meet us out there. And we're going to figure out what the chimney needs to be salvaged. In other words, pointed and sealed. And he's also a roofer. And he's insured, the whole 9 yards, very quality type of operation. And he's going to give the town a quote for a roof. That doesn't mean he's going to do it. He's just going to give us a quote. The town can put that in the book. That's what the roof is going to cost, subject to material price increases, not labor, unless it's done 5 years from now. Anyway, once you quantify all the particular items in the building, now you have something to make a priority. Now those are the things that you need to do. Now you know what it costs to do them. Now you can, first must do that stuff, so now you know the value there, and you can compare that to demolition. And say, okay, it's gonna cost us X to demolish it, it's gonna cost X to make it usable. Then you can start picking and choosing, once you know values, what you wanna use it for. And you can get into the pretty stuff. Do we wanna move a kitchen? Do we wanna move a bathroom? I can tell you pretty much what that's gonna cost on a comparative ratio right off the top of my head. I've been doing this for 40 years and I don't make mistakes, ever. Little tiny ones, but nothing substantive.
Well, question for you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we came in, because we've discussed the demo, trying to get prices on all this type of stuff, so you would be the perfect one to work.
I'm going to put a package together so you can get a price. You can get a price.
But for example, let me use heating for example.
Yep.
Some people suggest oil, some people suggest LP gas. Some people want to use hot air, some people want to use baseboard heat, some people want to use the Renai units. There's all different views, so how do you decide?
Okay. Don't listen to the plumbers.
I'm not listening to him, I'm listening to
Because
you.
the plumber sells, this plumber sells this plumber sells that plumber sells this, they all got their druthers. Everything is reducible to mathematics. It's called heat loss, heat gain. The building is going to have that no matter what, and it's a real simple procedure. It's a mathematical thing. I do them all the time. Anyway, then you're going to need a certain number of BTUs to do what you have to do. And there are different ways of doing all those things, and there are different efficiencies, and some of them are based on, like for instance, this Renai here is really great for this room because it does the job. It wouldn't work over there too well. It might work in the schoolhouse depending on what insulating values and draft stopping you do in the other aspects of this. There are a lot more efficient heating systems than what's over there now. That's for sure. And there are ways to do things so that you don't have to worry about pipes freezing again ever. But they're not done over there. The worst thing you do is use copper. Copper is terrible because every time it freezes, a copper pipe breaks and water goes everywhere. There are materials that you can freeze solid and the pipes don't break, no matter how cold it gets and for how long it's frozen. I mean, those are things, and believe it or not, they're cheaper than copper. Those are the things that that need to be explored before the town goes in and says, let's put all this new copper in under that floor. That doesn't make any sense at all. Take the copper out, bring it to the scrap yard, get $100 for it, and put something in there that's not going to break again. And it won't break. It may freeze up, but that's okay. There's just a lot of aspects to this. And I'm intimately familiar with a lot of them. I mean, we all can learn something new every day, but my taxes are already high enough, and I'm willing to dedicate some time to this. Because I don't think that you can get a good price from anybody without that being done first. In fact, you can't. That's how you can get lucky. You run into an honest guy who starves for work, who knows, but that's a crapshoot. I wouldn't play it that way. If anybody wants to look at this, we give you pretty much, this spec sheet goes along with the design process. Has nothing to do with the contractual process. However, the spec sheet becomes part of the contractual process. So everybody knows exactly what's going to be done. There's no questions, there's no arguments, there's no anything later. So everything's specified, everything.
All right, use the beams underneath, the support beams.
Yep.
Some people might want to use, like 6x6 timber, some may want to use the engineered wood types of stuff. How do you determine?
Well, my suggestion, first of all, structural adequacy is the primary concern. And my suggestion would be use the least expensive material that'll do the job. I mean, what's the point of putting something in there that's twice as good as what you need, that isn't going to suffer the slings and arrows of time as long as it's not soaking wet all the time? I mean, certain things have to be decided when you go into it and look at it. But what I'm saying is, why go to the most expensive? I mean, you can do anything you want. You can overbuild anything in the world and spend all the money in the world you want, but that building isn't a brand new building. Putting the latest state-of-the-art technology in terms of engineered woods in there to support it doesn't make any sense to me at all. I haven't crawled under there yet, so I'm not gonna, I've been under there before, several times, but way back when. And my memory isn't as good as it used to be, so. I'm going back in there again. In fact, Saturday, Jim and I are gonna crawl into there, because I wanna measure it while I'm at it so I can make an adequate floor plan. This is what a set of plans should look like for $8 grand. It's the plans for this place. I drew them up myself several years ago. That's what is required, and I'm gonna do that for all the different items. You can all look at this if you want and see just what I'm talking about. I will do that. I'm not gonna charge the town for it. And I'm not gonna do it as a potential bidder. But I definitely wanna be in the supervision of the bidding process, because I know a snow job when it's coming my way in this particular field. That's the only reason I want to get into it. Otherwise, I can stay home and watch TV too, you know.
Well, while you're under there, look for critters, because there may be a skunk or
There may be
something.
critters in there.
So are you looking?
Well, thanks, Jess is going to do most of the crawling.
So are you looking just at the schoolhouse, or are you looking at the townhouse as well?
The whole thing, it doesn't all have to be done all at once either. I mean, there's so many facets to what needs to be done over there.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that the important stuff needs to be addressed first quantitatively. We gotta figure out what it's gonna cost to do the stuff we need to do. If the town looks at it and goes, holy crap, excuse me, $100,000, what's it gonna cost to tear it down and throw it away? $35,000, and so the vote goes. Well, so be it. I'm not gonna get involved in trying to persuade anybody to do anything. All I really wanna get involved is in quantifying realistically what this is gonna cost. And believe me, there's plenty of good people out there that are out of work that wish they could find a job in construction right now and be happy to tackle any one of these things at reasonable price. Everybody's got to make a buck. I mean, but right now is the time. If we're going to fix it, don't wait till there's a boom on again if we ever get one again. Do it when everybody's starving, because you're going to find a myriad of people that are willing to do this job, and reasonably. Like, for instance, that $18,000 for the floor, to fix that floor, I think it's probably worth a third of that.
We already have received one estimate, certainly much, much less than half of what was originally quoted.
But until you spec it,
I understand.
you're getting an estimate. What you want is a quote, because a quote is a quote is a quote. It's what we're going to do with CIPS. We haven't done this before because, for instance, road formula. There is a way to figure out, without any possibility of mistake, what it's going to cost to fix a road. Guarantee it. I built so many of them, I can tell you. I mean, in yesteryear, you know, if there is a formula, and nobody's going to know it unless they do it for a living. It's that simple. And you know what you know. You all know what you know in your profession. Well, I know what I know in mine, and I want to contribute it because I'm going to be paying for part of this, one way or the other. Saying that I don't get hit by a 747 or something.
One of the questions that came up was under consideration, because we basically have talked a lot about the options. We didn't get to the detail you are, and commend you. We talked about, putting the things on a list of priorities and the cost of what you can afford to do. One of the thoughts came up, would it be cheaper to add to this building? How does that fit in there?
Well, what's the idea to do with the schoolhouse? Take it off and throw it away?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you what, this building is all set up to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's right here, actually. Okay. But anyway, certain things have to be done. I mean, there's wiring things in the wall that would have to be reworked. But however, that could easily be done without any trouble whatsoever. But here again, what you need is a price for that. You need a price for hauling that thing to the dump. I've got a guy coming to do that too, to quote the demolition and removal and cleaning of the site for that building. Because it's a quantity that everybody needs to know.
We discussed that, but we didn't.
Did I say that already? I may have said, forgive me if I'm...
No, we had discussed it when we were meeting over there. That's one of the things we need to have a quote for, is what it would cost, all these options. But the thought was on this building is if we knew it was going to cost $100,000 for the sake of argument to fix that building, would we be better putting something new up that was going to last?
Well, what do you need something new for? That's my question.
Because if you were going to turn that room in the Churchill Schoolhouse into, if the townspeople felt what was needed would be extra office space, over there right now you have no telephone jacks other than in the townhouse. You have one phone in there. You don't have the capabilities to have probably the electrical load you need.
So we're talking a someday thing.
Pardon me?
We're talking a someday thing.
Possibly, but that was one of the options, or a meeting room. That was one of them
now.
No, we're talking about if you're going to have the schoolhouse. When they went out, some people wanted to see it become a museum. Other people thought that it should be more modernized on the inside, so it could be a multifunctional room for the bloomers wanting to meet, or different groups of scouts or something could use that. There was options that were thrown out there.
Well, its primary use that I've seen over the years is a buffet table, but for instance, that building is a historical building with the exception, when they hauled it over the road, and I heard this from a couple of people way back when they hauled it over the road and dragged it here, all the plaster fell down inside. And the building started to come apart, but they got it here and they put it back together and they fabricated some kind of monkey business trusses up inside that hold that roof and walls together. That's why they're blowing out now. It can be repaired, not terribly expensively either. And what they nailed up on the ceiling was Homosoap, which was about $2 a sheet back then, and that was the cheapest way for the town to get out. And they threw some battens up, painted it. It's pretty ugly. That should be gutted and thrown away because there's nothing historical at all about it. It could be made 10 times better looking than that. That's a matter for the town to decide what its uses are going to be. I'm not into that at all, because that's a subjective thing. I'm only into objective things here. I will quantify stuff so that whenever people want to make a decision on what they want to do with the building, they know what it's going to cost to get it there. And then they can determine on the individual items like this, okay, we want to move, I've heard things about moving the kitchen back there, putting a bathroom over here. Then those individual items can be quantified and put on top of the structural stuff that's necessary. Now you got something. Now you can go to anybody, or you can set up a priority list over a period of time. This is what our plan is. That should be part of CIP actually in the long run. But you can't even do CIP until you quantify all this stuff. And that's why I put it on the agenda, and I want to get involved in quantifying it, because without that, we can't do nothing. I mean, it's going to be just a big argument on what, and I don't mean an adversarial argument, but the discussion could go on forever and ever, ever. I want this, I want that, and it's not going to be the whole town. The other thing is, I believe, a Surrette's nice, but 15 people, 20 people come. I believe the planning board should generate a questionnaire and make it very obvious in the questionnaire that your property taxes are going to be affected by this, one way or the other. Please respond and give them a stamped envelope to get the response back to the town, and you get something beside 50 or 60 people.
We're going to, at least I'm speaking for myself, see the advantages of having a charrette where we mail something to the people and invite them to be part of the process, to come, to get their input, because we've done the surveys outside and we had, 30, 40 returned, and a lot of people never returned them. So here's their opportunity. Put up or shut up. We're having this thing. We're hoping to get 150, 100 people to 150 to be there, to be part of the process. So they're buying in, not just a survey. And as you mentioned, it's professionally done.
It is professionally done. I contacted the woman at New Hampshire Preservation Alliance. The day went last Wednesday, but unfortunately I haven't heard from her. I did go to the place that they originally recommended to me for a charrette, was called Plan NH. I went to their website. For this year, all of the grants for a charrette are done for the year. I guess they're done in March, and then they're conducted until November. I am going to contact them and see. There is one where the town would have to pay $5,000, and I've already talked about getting some of that in grant money. I know I can probably get half of it, but it would be investing another $2,500 to $5,000 unless we wait for another year for the round of grants. And then it would be, if we're chosen.
Ernie, you're next.
We've got two different problems here. Gary is offering to work up information that's needed to reach any kind of educated decision. The other side of the problem is the selectmen and the Heritage Commission have to come up with where the priorities through a charrette or whatever. My suggestion would be to have Gary work with Bill Gaver and maybe Jim Freeman, working up this data on the various options, and that way the selectmen would have, and the Heritage Commission would have good, solid figures on the variety of options. But it's up to them to decide what they're going to do, but he can give you working data, which would be very helpful. I mean, Gary built this building. I mean, if you want to see what work he does, just look at this. Bill Gaver's been a primo property builder. You're talking about very knowledgeable people here. And Jim is willing to go into that building He better be involved. That's not a lot of fun, and you just need somebody that fits. I don't fit.
Oh,
Anyway, it was just a thought of a way to manage the problem.
in the back.
About the charrette, I just believe that since it's a town asset, and we've had it for quite a long time, I think we should do the charrette. The citizens should do the charrette. I don't personally like that outside people will be involved in. I think we're perfectly capable of getting together and making decisions on our own assets. That's my opinion.
Eddie? Oh, somebody, I'm sorry.
Hi, Gary, you've got terrific ideas, and he'd be the lead man for this, would be wonderful. But we don't know what we want. You can't go to him and say, we're gonna do this, this, and this. We don't know.
Well, you can't
We
figure out.
can't make the decision, you can't make the decision, you need the town to make the decision. And in order for them to do it, it would probably be a good idea to present a guesstimate, not an estimate, a guesstimate. If we tear it down, it will cost you about this. If you do this, it's gonna cost you about this. And give them some numbers, because if you don't tell them how much, they're gonna vote for nothing.
Well, that's the point, and it doesn't have to be a guesstimate. What I'm telling you is it can be an exact price. The quote's good for maybe 60 days, but the people that I deal with, for instance, the guy that's gonna demolish this, he may have a 0.5% increase in some sort of demolition dump fee between now and August, if you decide to do it in August. So if his price, say we're at $20,000 to take the building away and throw it away, or $40,000, whatever it is, there might be 40,000 in 250, who knows, but it's not gonna be 60,000. Guesstimates are, the only problem with guesstimates is they change always.
But we don't even know what we want. The meeting the other night, there were 25 ideas of what to do.
You can't know what you want until you know the values of all the particular items. So that's what I want to do, is put the values down. Now then you can put a wish list, say I want to have this kind of a bathroom. Well, then we can quantify that, just what do you want for a bathroom? But the first thing you got to do is you got to draw a picture of the bathroom. Little floor plan, we're going to do this, how much a fixture, what are we going to do for tile? It's right here, take a look at this.
So I say to you, I want a bathroom, and we want a unisex bathroom here. And you say, okay, that's that much.
Yep.
But somebody else wants to put it over here. How
Well,
much more is that gonna be?
that's something that's going to have to be worked out in the town, and I don't particularly think that, there are some things that are not sensible. I mean, and I can say, this is not sensible, and it'll cost a lot more money, so we shouldn't really entertain that in the debating level.
That's what we need.
All right, we need to,
I can shut up.
thank you. No, thank you very much. Let's start here. We'll go.
Just a comment, good decisions are made with good data, and Gary's offer of this spec sheet is good data, and that's the first step before we do anything else. We won't know what we're talking about, we won't know what ideas are worth until we have this data.
We, at the meeting we had, it's in essence what we were trying to come up with, some data. I mean, you would have a much better idea than, and be able to be neutral in a lot of the things that are there. But the question comes, like Tom said, we have different ideas. Somebody said, well, the bathroom should be in the front. Somebody said the bathroom should be in back where the boilers are now. Do we come with two competing, what has to be decided first? The two options or the?
No, I'll tell you this much. Number one, to move the bathroom up front is more costly than to leave it in the back, because there are plumbing issues. So it's going to cost more money. How much more money? That can be interpolated. However, to get to that point, you got to get past all the necessary stuff first. And that's what I want to devote time to at the moment. Get to the necessary stuff, and you can get to the pretty stuff later. I mean, that's easy to estimate too. What I'm saying is I want to do this as a non-bidder, but I will say this. When I built this building, we had a big hall folder all about it. You were involved, because you were selectman at the time.
Yes, I can.
And when we were at the town meeting, and we were talking about this, and we held up the plans and the whole 9 yards, and I said this building should go up for $160,000. And there were 20 people that stood up and said, impossible, can't be done. I can tell you who their names were. I remember it vividly to this day. Can't be done, can't be done, can't be done. I brought it in, and I said, look, if we can't find a bidder, we had bids from 300 to 275. I said, if it can't be done for that, I will do it for that. I guarantee it, because I know what I'm doing. And I brought it in 156. $2,000 less, and the town saved $2,000. And I made money. I didn't make as much money as I would make on the old homeowner bid. I mean, I'm not gonna give somebody a spectacular price on it, you know, every day, or I'm gonna be just for long.
Okay, then we gotta move on. John, Ed and John, and then we move on.
I'm just gonna repeat what Rick said, that step one is you have to have a comprehensive overview of the condition of the building. We have to know what's wrong with the building and what it needs before we think about anything. That has to be done first. Having meetings about what we wish is a waste of time. We have to do step one first, which is the comprehensive overview.
Well, we met to find out how much of a problem we have, and I think it was a very valuable meeting as far as I was concerned, because it was very friendly. Everybody had competing ideas. It was a perfect start of the process. And that's all we did. We started it. Now we're in a situation, where do we go from here? So I think we need to have another meeting, and not to have a meeting for the meeting, but you've started to look at some things so we can get our heads together to see where we're going rather than just wait 2 years to do it.
Can I ask, can I say this?
And my comment was going to be, thank you for offering to do the spec sheets, but how do we make that list complete? Because I've heard you talk about the floor, I've heard you talk about the rafters and the ceiling. Now, there's a whole host of other ideas out there. How do we get those ideas estimated?
Well, and probably some of the things you may not be aware of, they're not in the Salmon Falls. Once we went through that process, since we know that the townhouse is used on an emergency basis, Bill came up with the suggestion of adding a shower. It's not in those plans because it came up afterwards, but it's an excellent idea, and we'd want to do that in that if we did a handicapped accessible bathroom.
So along those lines, we're trying to make sure that you have a list that is more inclusive.
Well, some stuff off the top of my head, for instance, don't hire idiots, hire competent people, that's number one. And the price I'm paying for a fixture, such as a shower, right now, installed, you're not gonna get this price if that's all you want done by the plumber, but if there's a plumber involved in putting in bathroom fixtures, et cetera, you're gonna get it for $1,000 or less a fixture. You're talking about a one-piece acrylic, nice shower, easy to clean, easy to maintain, no Italian mosaic, but $1,000. That's what I'm paying, and that's, believe me, it's not going to change very quickly.
But unless someone tells you that we'd like to have an estimate of that type of stuff, you won't quote it out or put a spec sheet.
Well, we'll get there when we get there.
We're going around and around on the same thing. We're all talking the same thing, so we need to meet together.
I can supply the facts. That's
so
all
we're going to meet together. We'll get back to you. Before we go, John?
The first thing I want to say is that Craig Evans is in contact with people to evaluate this. I suggest, number one, we get 3 bids, look at it. Second thing we do is offer it up for who wants to buy this or whatever. I will offer to, at town's expense, you take this schoolhouse, bring it over to my property, I'll put it, I'll make a tool shed or whatever out of it. Third thing I want to say is, well, before the third thing, I'll look at the price. What the price is, I will divide it by the 300 or 400 people in this town, see if it's worth paying for the renovation. And the last thing is, I'll use Ron Fountain's idea, is to move it away from the building, torch it, and it's done.
Well, these are the options we have. I think we're all basically on the same page. We're going at it a little differently, but we're all in agreement what needs to be done. We just have to decide how to get there.
Let me say one thing. This is wholly inadequate to get a bidding process done.
Okay.
Period.
We won't proceed on that until we have a discussion so we can fine tune some of this. We'll be sure next Tuesday?
Sure, why not?
Next Tuesday, Gary?
Say that again now.
Next Tuesday, could you meet? We're not going to invite, I don't know if we can keep it small, but we'll have something next Tuesday.
I can do that. What time?
7.
7.
Okay, let me tell you what, I'm not procrastinating or putting this off. I have a monumental bookwork challenge that's going to take me 30 days. I can steal a day here, a day there. I'm going to crawl into the townhouse. I'm not going to start putting this together for between 15 and 30 days because I've
we're not looking for that.
Staggering quantity of stuff I got to get done personally, and I'll be done by then because I have a deadline. And when I finish, I'm going to dedicate myself to getting these things done.
We understand that, but at least that we can all somewhat agree to what we're doing, because right now there's some, I'll say disagreement, but we're looking at it a little different than you are. We agree with what your end product is, but we're getting at it a little different way. Like we need quotes for 2 different bathrooms, different ideas. We need an idea for the competing heating systems. So we need to talk to you in more detail about that. We want your input and your knowledge, and your knowledge is out there. But we have some different thoughts. I'm not sure we're going at it the same way.
Well, I agree with you, and I understand that, and I'm not too heated up about that yet, because you need the structural stuff solved base first, then before you even bother going to that, because you might look at the structural stuff and say, God, this is too expensive. Let's put an addition on the back of the house. I don't know yet, but that makes everything else moot.
Do you want to meet Tuesday, or do you want to wait a
Yeah,
minute?
no, I can still do Tuesday, no
Okay,
problem.
and meanwhile, you can crawl underneath and have all the fun
Yeah.
you need to look at chimneys and all that. You agree, Tuesday?
Tuesday it is.
Tuesday it is,
It's a public meeting, everybody's invited.
absolutely. But we're not going to get into we're going to be like we did the last time. We're going to sit around very cooperatively, go back and forth with ideas.
Yeah, I'm
So
not going
we-
to tell anybody what to do with the buildings. That's not my mission. My mission is to quantify the
Okay.
cost of the things that are going to be done accurately so that everybody can make a real valid decision.
The only thing I would request is possibly we meet here. We've met over there once, but the acoustics are so bad. Would there be a way the meeting could be held here?
I don't see why not, unless there's somebody else. Yep. Okay, so next Tuesday.
7 o'clock.
Okay, we're going to proceed on. We're a little bit behind, but that's all right. We're making some progress. Welfare policy.
We are meeting next Monday at 7 o'clock to develop the process that we're going to follow with respect to our welfare liens and loan policy, because we expect the money to be paid back. It's no longer grant money.
Is this an open meeting?
It most certainly is.
When is that meeting?
Next Monday at 7 o'clock.
We have we've approved 2 months ago, something like that, 3 months ago, to go for anybody that has provided assistance, any homeowner that's provided assistance to attach a lien on their property, get them to help pay. It's basically they're borrowing the money from the town, but if this keeps going on, that we put a lien on the property, so when they come time to sell it, we would be able to recoup your money. It's your money that we keep giving out. And they have an obligation or understanding that they will be repaying us when they have, if they can. And obviously, if they can't, we'll recoup it at the end when the house is sold. So we need to fine tune that so we can put it in operation.
And that's what the meeting's about, that process.
Okay, alarm training.
I just received confirmation, I checked my email before the meeting. So we're gonna have alarm training on April 17th, which is next Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Point of order,
10 a.m.?
10 a.m.
just explain what the alarm.
Oh, we're trying to have the people trained that if we have an issue with the alarm, that they know how to disarm it, turn it off, make sure it's turned on, how to contact the company, the code words and everything that we need to make sure it's efficient. Because we ran into our problem because somebody inadvertently or on purpose turned it off but forgot to turn it back on. So that was the problem at our end. The problem at the company that oversees this is they never called us to say, hey, there's something wrong, your alarm's not working. So there's a problem at their end, and there was a problem at our end that whoever did it turned it off. I'm sure to silence it for a meeting and then forgot to turn it back on.
You're talking about the oil alarm or the heat alarm.
Oh, all in one.
What happened over at the townhouse.
That's correct. They call us as selectmen if there's an issue.
So what we're trying to do, because the selectmen come and go, is train a core of people, it'd be Jessica and Lance, and let those folks train the selectmen on how to operate the alarm, because we're elected and we don't run or whatever. So it's good to have a core that would stay with the organization and be able to train the incoming selectmen as to how it works.
Okay, the locksmith company.
Tom.
Tom, you're going to report on the locksmith?
We switched the locks, Tom.
Switch the lock.
Does it work?
The lock works better.
Okay. So we've solved the problem theoretically of the door sticking in the front by taking the lock in the back and putting it in the front.
And for your information.
Is it the same key?
Yeah.
The back door has a lock on it, but if you unlock it from the outside, you still can't get in.
You can't get in, right.
There's the panic bar on the
Right,
inside.
right. Okay, good.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
dedicated time. Fire extinguishers. We're still waiting on Brad. I meant to email him, haven't heard a thing.
Gotta do 'em.
We're getting, okay. Septic tank. I will find out what, Ernie, you might know on this one. Do you know if the septic tank has ever been pumped? As far as I know, it has not.
It has been pumped when we had a pump failure about a year and a half ago.
Oh, that's all set.
And we put a new pump motor in, and
Okay.
Lakes Region Septic can give you the whole history of that if, should you need it.
No, it's a year and a
Done.
half, that's what, hey, that's good. Breakfast is coming up on the 27th, and Selectmen will be putting it on. I think we have some volunteer spouses that might be able to help us. Maybe not.
Or others.
Can't speak
We
for
would
others.
help
Eyes
you.
down.
We would wear cute little waitress uniforms.
I said might have spouses that would be able to.
Just go back to the septic thing really quick.
Sure.
Is there a way we're gonna maintain a diary of when we need to do that again? Maybe, I don't know if we can put in an operating manual or some sort of tickler 5 years out or 10, whatever.
I'm sure if you talk with
Put that in that book we're
Bob,
gonna do.
Yeah, I already have it
Yeah.
started.
Okay,
Go ahead,
good
you can
idea.
keep track of that, give us numbers.
He
of
does,
what
he
it was.
sends you a
Excuse me, wait a
It's
minute.
excellent to work with.
If
Go ahead.
you're using Lakes Region Septic, they're very nice about calling you every 3 years or whatever, if you ask them to.
Right.
So if they're the
Or
people
sending
that
a
are
card.
taking care of it.
And how much we really need to use it, giving the minimal
Well,
use we have.
However many years you want.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, if we ask them for like a 5-year,
Yeah.
because we're not a household, so if there's a way we could contact Lake Region, because Ernie's not gonna be here, every year to tell us, hey, don't forget, so.
There you go.
We take care of the breakfast. And we're gonna work on a menu for everybody. What is the request? You don't have too much of a choice here. French toast and that's about
Eggs
it.
Benedict.
French toast or pancakes are typically it.
Anybody have a preference? One or the other.
French toast.
French toast is probably gonna be it.
Sausage.
Hopefully we have some nice
Oh,
maple
you gotta
syrup.
get eggs,
Sausage?
We'll get some eggs.
Local eggs?
local eggs.
No flags. We'll have some egg producers.
You have a former selectman that had eggs.
I was thinking of him.
Yes,
So we'll see if we can tap him.
Can we do breakfast sausages?
yes, typically do. Turkey and regular. Would you like me to provide the menu for you? We usually do it.
We'll do it.
So I know.
All right.
I could give you
Any other
quantities.
old business? New business, selectmen's pay rate. As you were aware at the town meeting, when the pay issue came up, the people at that meeting approved a salary of $5,000 for each of the selectmen. So the selectmen have an option of taking the $5,000, or if they wish to take less, they can take less. Since this is a public thing, we need to have it on the record what everybody's going to accept. So some people might say, I want to take less, some might say, I want to take what the people approved. So who's first?
I'm not gonna go against the public's wishes, I will accept the $5,000. I'm on the record.
I want to take the 5,000 until budget time again this year. I think this December and November, we can maybe attack it a little differently, maybe put a warrant article on, maybe change the budget plan, but attack it in the fall.
You're going with 5?
Yes.
And I'm going to go with 5. Okay, so it's at 5 now for all three of us. Okay? Repairs, we've sort of discussed that for the bathroom, that's taken care of. Underneath, Gary said to hold on the plastic underneath. Do we get some different opinions?
I'm not.
No, till we get opinions, okay? We've had from different people, we need to put the plastic. You brought up a red flag, so we need to check it out.
I want to crawl into there anyway and see what the deal is.
Okay. Townhouse. Other new business.
Gary will never get out.
Public comments.
I think the plumber schedule. Okay.
Yeah, he's coming Thursday to hook up the toilet. Any other public comments? Okay, we're going to go to the mail. I am unaware of any non-public session. We're listing that on here if we have one, just in case something comes up, but I am not aware of anything that we need to discuss in non-public. Okay, so there'll be a no non-public session. So we're going to take care of mail now. You're welcome to stay. If you want some excitement, come next Tuesday, 7 p.m. And we will hopefully be as cordial as we were the last time.
I bet we will. We're nice people. Are you sure you're okay with that? Old Home Day in August?
And hopefully a cat that hasn't been eaten by the dog.
They were that friendly, huh?
Well, they would be. No, Fanny wants to slow his cat.
I already have,
Cat says, not wanting
Fanny just gets down and slides, you know, and as long as the cat doesn't hurt, it's fine. But the cat can only stand it so
I think these people are out of Huntington.
What's this? But she's not a happy.
Littleton, isn't it?
No, it's very unhappy.
Yes.
But of course, it's the second week,
That's right.
different than last week, so. But they actually were more
I really,
Fanny's not being.
Only in the area.
You're gonna play.
These are the people that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you can carry your conversations, we're having a meeting and it's not over yet. So, welcome to Gary. Jessica needs to talk to you.
I'll be facing.
John Nelson, could you hold up for 10 minutes?
So what we learned is the meeting breaks down. By doing this at the end, it's convenient for us, but the meeting, we lost control.
Well, we normally do things.
But they're gonna be, I understand, but a good show now. Good draw.
you know what? I thought that was, I like the new agenda and I like the way you ran the meeting. Excellent. And here, it takes me longer to figure out what salary you're getting each month.
These are the folders on the floor. If you want to look through them. Benefit Werther is quite big, there's actually two of them.
You're going to leave them where? You're going to be locked up?
Right on the desk.
And you're gonna try to contact the renter, to go through the renter to get some contact.
I knew that Ed Comeau rented that house before he volunteered.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
All right.
He volunteered.
5 minute timeout here. 5 minutes. Get a drink of water. Cool up.
Oh, I bought water.
I thought of it. Take your conversations elsewhere, folks. Moving on. Mush.
This is the only piece of mail we have to look at.
Need a gavel. Hit him over the head.
We'll break this. Here's our last piece of mail.
You should have been out for a brochure.
I was trying to tell you.
Ah, all right.
But that's all right. Maybe it's something else.
Was it a good brochure at least?
Oh, all that. They're listening anyway.
It's not fire?
You want to? We can still go on,
Look
right?
at you. Yes. Other under. Yeah.
Civil engineering.
Yeah, isn't it?
Other.
Well, I guess
We're on tape.
that's all right.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm
running.
I agree with Brian on taking that house that the taxes haven't been paid on. I'm talking about that topic. I think we should try to get those taxes paid. I don't want to be a landlord, but we have to, I mean, the goal is to get the taxes, and if we can't get the taxes, we get the house and property.
Yeah, do we go through an eviction notice?
No, we just own the house. We're the renters.
own the
and
house
then
and
we-
you now pay
Well,
all
where's
the
the rent
bills.
go? Do we get rent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm good with all this. This is just new to me. I've never heard of
but
town.
we don't want to, I mean, we don't want to be a landlord. Don't call me when the light bulb goes, you know?
Yeah, that's what I, and then to me, there's liability, there's maintenance, there's upkeep, there's like.
Yes, we have to pay.
And we get,
If you take over a house, you got insurance, you have to put on invoice.
Right.
So,
I think we'll need the attorney involved at some point on that whole
Yeah,
process.
to me, there's all sorts of questions of really how we would want to proceed on that.
the other three I have no qualms about moving forward with.
Right, I think the house is the one we need to make the biggest press on because there's just too many strings.
Yep.
But and I like what Virginia did with the one with the deaths in the family. It's, it's a reasonable thing to do.
Yep.
wasn't one of them the grave burial ground?
Yes, Wiggins. It's a total 1/3 acre. And
It's
in,
on the side of 109.
it's on, when you just go down the hill, you can see it back there. It's 1/3 of an acre, the Wiggins Cemetery's in the middle of it, burying ground, and then around it, they've never been paying taxes on it.
And is there a trust for it?
Nope, and Virginia couldn't, Diana could not find anyone to pay the taxes. She tried hard.
What did I say, Virginia? I meant Diana.
I said, yeah,
No, I was wrong on the
When was the
signature.
last time the taxes were paid on it?
years ago, because we just started rendering a bill about 5 years ago. Because
So nobody knows the last time taxes were paid?
She probably would have a record, Diana would probably
She-
have a
It's
record.
in the computer though, I think it's probably.
Oh,
incorrect.
before.
But it was waived, like, you didn't pay for cemeteries, then Avatar said you have to start charging
We
for
were-
cemeteries, so that would have been 3 years ago.
we were talking about the Wigan Cemetery. Did you ever talk to an heir on that?
No.
No, you couldn't find anybody.
I haven't found anyone.
When was the last time anybody paid taxes, or any taxes were charged?
Prior, no one has paid taxes on that property since before I was tax collector.
When was that?
28 years.
It's been a while.
I just said 28.
So Ernie may remember that.
She said it 4 times during the meeting.
No, we're just,
But there was never a bill sent out until actually it was reevaluated.
so they get billed for 30 years.
They hadn't got bill.
So they wouldn't expect them to pay if they didn't get a bill.
Can I ask how much the tax bill is? I think it's about $400 a year. I think that's approximately.
That's what's on the sheet.
Three something.
When we put them in current use, they're not going anywhere.
It's only a third of an acre.
Well, I mean, there's gonna be some $400 for a year for 1/3 of an acre burial ground. Sounds like a lot of money to me. It isn't all burial ground. You know, there's a little plot that has peoples in it. There's a fence in it.
Or what's left.
It was just assessed by Habitat. Basically, it was a way to
Road
get
frontage?
off. Huh?
I don't know, I've never looked
Yes,
at.
there's road frontage on 109.
That's why it's worth so much.
It's non-conforming, it's non-buildable, it's not anything? Not anything.
Could they build over the cemetery? Do they
No.
own
You can't build within
No.
25 feet of a cemetery.
it? Can you build over it though?
No.
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 Mausoleum.
Got a question? Or a comment?
Does that cemetery comprise the entire property?
No,
If not,
no, it does not.
considering the circumstances, if there's no heir to be found, that might be a solution
For
for our
cemetery.
space for our town cemetery.
We have discussed
At
it.
least temporary solution.
We have discussed it. I don't know the configuration, but I know there's a driveway going in, Mr. Can on his property. And the cemetery is here, and then right after that, it dips down into a pretty low valley right on the other side of it.
So we just have to fill over rather than dig down, we just go over the people.
Yeah.
Would work?
Even for temporary use.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that we could get adjacent land from Mr. Can.
That's
for the
worth
cemetery.
exploring, right? Okay.
Mr. Can, of course, is our town moderator's
I don't know
father.
that, you just let me know that Mr. Burns from Stone Road passed away.
Yes. Somebody emailed me and I emailed Ernie. So you were on the property, right? That's what we left off. We were on something we were talking about and some other people jumped in. What to do about those 3 lots you didn't have a problem with? The 1 lot, as we would become landowners
Those other 2 lots are excellent lots,
for cemetery.
and they're high and dry, and I looked at the tax map, when you go into the Drew development, and you go in on the lower road and you come out the upper road, they're up on the top.
But is that a private road?
Yes, it is.
But does that create a problem putting a cemetery on a private road?
Well, there's the lawyer work, I don't know. We
Maybe
don't-
the residents on that piece of property under there have a right.
I don't know, but I don't think there's an abutter today with dwelling. I have to look at it, I don't think
I believe Jay,
there's a cape up there.
I think the 2 lots are the 3rd and 4th lot in, if I'm not mistaken. What is it?
It's up on the left, up
It's
at
C
the
and
top.
D, right? So it's A, B, C, and D. I think it's, and Jason is the second house.
All right, so they're each 2.5 acres.
But I would think, I wouldn't all of a sudden want one plot next to me, so if you're in a section where there's nobody around, that would be one thing. They may object to a cemetery we put in next to them.
Well, we'll see. Got 3 years.
It'd be quiet.
That's right.
There's advantages.
That's right.
And what do we want to do with the house lot? Are we gonna tell, are we continuing on with the actual deeding? Or did we say we're not gonna look to deed that?
We're gonna go with it unless Diana can find out more information from the owner.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just make sure I didn't misunderstand that we were saying we're gonna,
go ahead with it.
I was gonna say, I don't.
So the insurance we would put on it, and then we would have to get a point if we don't want the renters, we have to give them notice to leave. So, and who do they pay their first month rent to? To them or to her or to us, or the owner to us?
If we own it, they pay it to us.
Right. So they better pay that month's rent from there. So we'll find that out next week, but we better catch the land renters so that they are aware that they would start paying rent to us. And then we could work with the tenant to see that they find alternate housing. Any other business? Eddie, you're here. Are there anything either one of you have? No? You got your check?
Take it out to the end.
Rose?
Part of it.
You're excited about potentially serving at that breakfast? Is your wife excited about doing it?
She rejected my kind offer for her to serve.
We
So-
might need some.
I didn't reject it.
You told me I'm not serving. That was your exact word.
Brian, you're new to this. There's a camera here.
There's a camera.
Smile.
We're talking about our breakfast, people.
Actually, one of our sons would probably love to serve. He
Well, I
loves-
sold it by telling my wife.
That the others
Your
were.
wife's gonna be good. I sold it. That's right. So,
Oh, my gosh.
We'll talk about it.
Some of us could be willing to help you.
Yes.
The bigger issue is breakfast.
Before you close the meeting, I have a little comment.
sure.
The ratings to the website, what I've been doing is cross-linking. Cross-linking is when you put one link on one site or in one location, and then link it in several other different locations with the same link. That way, if somebody comes to my website, Brookfield's link is on my site and on all the YouTube videos that I've uploaded. And I've been doing this for 3 years. So there's a lot of Brookfield meetings that have that link on it. So as it goes through the system, it gets moved up in the rankings and people all over will find it, will find yours. Now the county has my link on their website. It would be good for all of us and people in town if that same link was on our site. That way when people do come to the website, they can view these meetings. So that's...
There was discussion on
It
that
was.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah.
It would be easy to do.
Say it differently for me. I didn't understand it.
Adding a link to...
On which site?
You would go...
Put his link on our site.
Our
If somebody
site
goes to the
pointing
town
to you,
website,
pointing to
they
you.
can- They can see the meeting by going to the town website.
If you go to the county website, it says the meetings can be viewed at governorversite.com.
So you're suggesting or talking about putting some pointers on our website to your site?
Now
So
that,
they can watch. So they can watch them.
that came up, if my memory isn't good, that came up for a discussion on the issues, what's good for one is good for another. Good for the goose, good for the gander. If we put a link for you, would we be required to put it for other people? Now, I don't have a problem if we tell them, if you ever want to watch it, go to your site, but to actually hit it when it goes to your site, is that going to set a precedent that we don't want? Because somebody else could come in with the horse farm or with everything else and say, we'd like to have it. Maybe we want that, I don't know.
Well, that would be up to you, because they would also be cross-linking the site, so it does help everybody.
It's a direct relation to
Oh, yeah,
us.
I think that's wonderful.
That versus a
Yeah.
farm or
What happened
whatever.
up at the county is the same question occurred. The same question was asked up at the county. Now, the county's been covered now for 3 years. There's never been a problem. People go to the site, and if they don't already know about governorversite.com, they'll go to the website, Carroll County website, and they'll see it on there, they'll click on it and go. So it's just a suggestion, it does help, because I started cross-linking around end of November of last year. And when you do cross-link, it does.
And that's when we started seeing increases.
And now government knows that you're a nonprofit, so it's,
I am not a nonprofit.
you're not, I thought you were a nonprofit.
No, I'm still working on advertising.
Okay, I was just trying to think of someone who said we're doing it for you, who say it's for a nonprofit, but,
The county said the same thing, but it's
Okay.
become such a huge resource up at the county.
Right.
For them, I mean, when they can't take minutes or forgot to take minutes or made a mistake with the minutes, they refer back to my site. So profit or not, it's.
No, Ed, if it was up to me, I'd say put the link there, because to me, it's just too easy, it just makes sense, but I'm just trying to think of arguments that people could say, but for the fact that, we could say you were nonprofit, but that argument is now gone, so, okay.
You put that agenda for the next meeting, so we
Yeah, I
can
think we
hold
should.
this over?
And my advertising focus is all local businesses, so it's, and same thing happens at the county, they have a little box on their main website, on their homepage, that actually has a little spot where people have paid to actually advertise, so you click that and it goes to the area businesses.
Jessica, could you at some point after that make a
Oh,
copy of
is that
that
where
and
in
give it for
Fountains?
Mary Lou?
Yes.
Yep.
I'll make a copy.
Okay,
I'd like
so
mine.
that's.
We would have that
Yeah.
for each file. Any other business? Meeting adjourned.